Well, as most of us know here in the Palm Springs area, we have something fabulous at downtown Palm Springs, and that's the fabulous Palm Springs Follies. And joining me on this episode of Talk of the Desert is none other than the music director and conductor and arranger for all the music from the Palm Springs Follies, and that's Johnny Harris. Johnny, welcome to Talk of the Desert.
Thank you. Nice to be with you, Melinda.
You've been planted downtown Palm Springs for a long time now, haven't you?
Yeah, we're 21 years we're coming up.
It's amazing. Now, I was told by our darling Greg Purdy that you, Riff Markowitz, and Mary Jardine are the only three original people of the company, of the fabulous Palm Springs Follies.
That's correct, yeah. It's been quite a journey.
Can you imagine being a musician and employed for this length of time?
No. It's the longest gig I've ever had, I got to tell you. But it's just an amazing show. I mean, the whole thing. I always feel that the people come into that theater and they go into like a time machine and go back to all those days that they remember, all the memories they have, and see them coming out, and it takes them all the way back to all those wonderful memories that they had.
Oh.
So it's a very special show. I'm very proud to be part of it.
I sit in the audience because I've seen it almost every year, and I sit in the audience and I cry through some of the scenes, and then when Mr. Markowitz honors the military, I'm just sitting there in tears because it's a very special moment. It is a very special moment. Mm-hmm. So and it's
great to play that sort of tribute to those men and women. You know, it is. It's a very special moment in the show.
You're even clouding up right now.
I know. I'm such a softie.
Oh, me too. I cry at 30-second TV commercials.
I don't go that far. But,
oh dear. Anyway, Johnny, let's find out about your background. Where were you born and where did you grow up, if you've grown up yet?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
Never grow up. I was born in Scotland, in Edinburgh, in fact, many years ago. And my father was a musician, and my mother was a singer, and my father was Welsh. So my heritage is really Welsh. Although I was born in Edinburgh in Scotland, I was only there for 6 months of my life because my father was doing a summer season job up there. Mother was pregnant, and I arrived right there. You know, they didn't put a kilt on me, thank goodness.
Good.
So that's where I was born, and then we lived most of my life in London until I moved to the United States. When I was 16, I auditioned for a scholarship for the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, which is one of the major music universities in London, and got a scholarship for 4 years and studied music. I studied trumpet, piano, and orchestration, and got my master's degree.
Which instrument did you start playing first?
Piano. My father was very insistent. He was a violinist, and he was very insistent and made me practice. When I would love to go out and play soccer, he said, no, because we call it football in England.
Right.
And he said, no, practice first, then you can go out and kick that ball, you know. So he was a major help to me in my career. And my piano was the main instrument. Then I think I heard, what did I hear first? I think it was Harry James playing trumpet on a record, and then I thought, oh my goodness, I want one of those. So I got inspired in Dizzy Gillespie and on and on and on.
At what age did you start playing piano?
I was about 8, I think, when I started. Mm-hmm. And trumpet around about 14.
And which instrument do you prefer?
Well, actually, the trumpet became my main instrument, and when I auditioned for that scholarship, that was my main instrument. My piano was my second instrument, and until I was 35, I was a trumpet player and played with major big bands in England, and brought up a couple of kids and bought a couple of houses as a trumpet player. Then I decided...
That's amazing, a musician that is really working.
Well, in those days, yes, right, it was. Should I continue? I can keep talking forever, you don't have to cut me off. Well, very briefly, I got to a period in my life when I thought, I was working with these big orchestras, these big bands. I was a trumpet player, and then the band leader one day said, do you want to do some arrangements? I said, oh, sure, yeah. So, cut a long story short, I started arranging, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, this is what I want to do. And eventually, I got a break through Tony Hatch, who had heard some demo records I was making, and he offered me a job at Pi Records in those days. He was like huge. He had all these, he'd just done Downtown with Petula Clark, and he was recording everybody, producing them. And he said, you know, I need somebody to conduct the orchestra because I'm a producer, and he did his own arrangements, but he was up in the control room, and he said, I need somebody to conduct the orchestra so I can make sure the sounds are right. I don't want to be down on the floor. I said, okay, I'll do that. So about a month or two later, he asked me to do an arrangement that he couldn't do. He didn't have the time. He said, will you ghost for me? So I did, and we performed. It was for Petula Clark for an album, and we rehearsed it, and the orchestra stood up and applauded.
Oh,
the
fantastic!
arrangement.
Oh.
I was amazed, and he came down. And he said, "Your name is going on that. I'm not going to ghost. Oh. That's not a ghost arrangement."
Wow!
And from there, everything seemed to take off.
Well, now on arranging, do you hear the whole orchestra in your mind when you're writing all the different parts?
Yeah.
Do you ever have somebody come and play something for you?
Oh, no.
It's all
It's all there. And especially because in those days, and for most of my career, I arranged writing scores for live orchestras, but with the Follies, of course, it's all electronic. And that's why I riff for
Johnny,
both.
we've got a clip of you conducting Delilah. Now, tell the story.
Oh, well, this was a series on BBC TV with a singer called Lulu. And it was her series. We had 13 episodes. It went out live. It was in black and white, as the viewers will see. And each week, I would have a featured spot with my orchestra. And I would feature music by certain composers, pop composers. In this particular case, I can't remember the two composers that I say it on the clip, but I did my arrangement of this song called Delilah, which was a big hit for Tom Jones, because I was Tom Jones' music director for many years, and had arranged that and conducted it many times.
Well, what's really special about this clip is your dad is in the orchestra playing violin, so you'll have to point him out to us.
I will do.
Okay, thanks, Lorraine.
I'd like to feature two young Englishmen, and they've written many hit songs for many great artists. One in particular, Mr. Tom Jones, who I have the great pleasure of working with just recently. The names of the composers are Barry Mason and Les Reed. The song is called Delilah, and I hope you like our interpretation of this particular song.
Well, that was your daddy on the violin there in that last little clip of that video. That must have been, he must have been so proud of you.
Well, yes. In fact, it was really wonderful at the latter part of his life, with the success that I was enjoying at that time. I was in a position to say to the contractors that contracted the musicians, all the movies and records I was doing and TV, I said, I want my father in the violin, because he was able to, he was a good player, but he was out of the loop. So I brought him back, and I felt it was some sort of payment back for all the time when I was in my teens. He supported me while I was learning my craft, you know. So it was great to be able to do that.
Well, I see you had your Beatles haircut in that clip.
Yeah, one of my daughters said to me, she said, "Have you still got that shirt, Dad?" You know, I said,
Really?
I don't know.
And I can tell you, I've never seen anybody conduct the orchestra look like you're dancing.
Oh, it was a lot of fun, yeah. That's it. Very animated.
Yeah, very animated, but that's what you had to do. I mean,
Yeah.
was it live television, did you say?
Yeah, it was, and that's it was really nerve-wracking, because each week I go there and I knew it was coming to my spot in the show. You know, it was like, here it comes, the next one after this thing, and it was usually after a duet that Lulu sang with the major guest at the time. And it was my time, and I thought, I got to look at the camera, the light goes on red, and you have to speak. You know?
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Well, I know you do.
I know that feeling.
But it was really scary. It was really, you know, it was such a popular show, and it was a huge amount of audience whose coverage was wonderful. And I just felt, oh my goodness, don't mess anything up, John, please. There's no going back live TV.
Oh, absolutely. I've only done one live Talk of the Desert in over 500 episodes. But now we have another clip, and it's at Caesar's Palace, and it's Paul Anka, and he introduces you. Lorraine, is that ready?
John Harris, over there, right there. John Harris.
Oh, look, it's a longer Beatles haircut.
I know. And that waist, where did it go?
Oh, that's so funny. But how great to have Paul Anka introduce you there. What was that show?
Actually, that was a telethon.
Okay.
And there was a lot of major stars on that, Bill Cosby and a bunch of others. And it was in the afternoon at Caesar's Palace. And yeah, telethon.
Yeah.
And that song I wrote, that piece of music, Jubilation, I wrote with Paul, and he's still performing it, even today, for that big instrumental section, and now he conducts it himself.
Well, anyway, that's just what a wonderful honor to have Paul introduce you on
Yes.
that. Now, I've got one more clip that I want to get in this first half of the show.
Okay.
Now, this is from 1981. The clip's not a great quality, but it's really terrific who introduces you on this. Very beautiful Linda Carter. Tell me about Linda.
Well, Linda, I met in the early 80s, actually in the late 70s, and her husband at that time was her agent and manager, and he asked me to do a show. He wanted to put her on in Caesar's Palace in Vegas. I said, does she sing? I mean, she's Wonder Woman, you know, I didn't know. He said, yes, she does. And so I met her, and it was literally like love at first sight. She's like my sister. We're very close. I did a big show in Virginia last year, conducting a symphony orchestra with her. We stay in touch all the time, and we're very, very, very close friends. And I did that show, and then I did the first season of Wonder Woman, the series, the last season, I should say, of Wonder Woman. I scored the entire series.
I was going to say, when you said when you did the show, you didn't act in it, you scored.
No, I scored it, and I also
yes.
did 5 specials with her. She got 5 specials, CBS specials. I did all those, and 5 movies with her, too.
Okay, when we come back from this clip, let's talk about, if we have time in this first half, to talk about what it's like to score a TV show or a
movie.
a movie, a special event.
Right.
Okay, Lorraine, third clip.
I would like to introduce you just quickly to one of the most talented, most respected musical talents in my country and certainly in the United Kingdom. He's almost a member of my family because he's been working with me over in the United States. And he's incredible. Mr. Johnny Harris. He's right here. Turn around. Yes. And we're going to sing some rock and roll. Woo! Come on, everybody. Oh, well, I feel so good today.
Well, thank you for bringing those clips with you.
You're
Actually,
welcome.
Greg Purdy, the public
Yes.
relations press guy from the fabulous Palm Springs Volley, has got those for you for us
wonderful.
to use in the
Thank you,
show.
Greg.
So yeah, absolutely, he's the best. Okay, what is it like to? Well, we didn't even get you to the United States. Come to the United States.
It was in 1970. 1972, and I met Paul Anka. I'd produced a lot of major successful albums for Shirley Bassey and a lot of other artists in England, and he'd heard them, and he said, I would like you to produce, he called me, he was in England, and he said, I'd like you to produce the next album for me. And that's when I met him. He said, come and see me at the Grosvenor House where he was staying in the hotel, and he said, there's a piano in his suite, so he said, I'll be right out. I'll just be right with you. And so I just sat down at the piano, started playing something. He came back and he said, what's that? I don't know, it's something I'm messing around. He said, play it again. And it was the actual lick or the riff that we built the song Jubilation on, which we saw earlier.
Right.
And that's, then he said to me, well, fantastic, we did the album. That was a single, and Jubilation was a single. And he said, you know, my marriage was breaking up, my first marriage, and I wanted to come to the States because I'd come to the States in '68 with Tom Jones and fell in love with this country, and I said, I got to move there. And he said, if you come and conduct for me, I'll make sure I can get you into the country. And that's what happened. I spent 5 years over here with him, conducting and arranging for him.
Okay, so what's it like to score for a television show or a movie?
Well, with a TV show, what you're doing is you're arranging mostly for the singers or any dance production numbers. A movie, of course, is you're scoring for the story, and that's a specialized art. I've done a lot of movies and a lot of television series. I totally enjoy it. It's wonderful. You know, you're trying to enhance the film because they give you the film, and it's the director's baby, you know? It's like, this is my baby, now don't mess with it, you know? So you have to come at the end and try and enhance what he's or she has already done.
Because music in different scenes really plays, makes the movie or television show come alive.
Oh, absolutely. And I actually did a lecture once for some at my son's school and explained to the kids and took some examples, a couple of clips without the music and then with it.
Yeah.
And they would go, oh, wow, what a difference.
That's right.
If you
Yeah,
take the music.
I've seen examples of that, and it's quite fascinating to see the scene without the music. So
Yeah.
it does make a major difference.
Which can be a very scary thing for the composer because that's all you get, you know. It's blank, just no, you know, just dialogue or sound effects, and even those are not usually finished, you know. They do finish later. And it's up to you, come up with it, you know.
Well,
it's exciting.
I had Keely Smith's son-in-law, Dennis Michaels.
Oh, yeah,
He says, who's a doll, and he arranges for Keely and does a lot of his own things too. But he says he's got music running through his brain all the time. Are you like that?
It's going on right now.
So do you hum to it, or what?
Sometimes it keeps you awake, like last night. I've got to get to sleep. I have a TV interview. It's still going. You know, it's wonderful.
I do know, I have learned that musicians do live in their own world. There's no question about that.
Absolutely.
Johnny, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little more about your career and then the fabulous Palm Springs Follies.
Great.
And starting the 21st season for the show is pretty amazing.
Amazing.
So we'll be right back with Johnny. Well, Johnny Harris, can you just name drop a few of the movies or TV shows that you've helped score over the years?
Well, series was the Wonder Woman series,
Yes.
Buck Rogers series, Matthew Starr series. There's two others I can't recall now. Movies, one of the major movies I did was Man in the Wilderness with Richard Harris and John Huston. It's a classic. It's still, I'm still getting royalties for it. It's still shown all over the world.
Love it.
And my first movie was a movie called Fragment of Fear with David Hemmings. And that was interesting because I was trying to break into movies. And they said, well, have you done a movie before? He said, no. Well, no, you can't get one. You know, it's like you have to check in before the egg. You know, it's that sort of thing. So luckily enough, I had an agent that got me through, and that was it, you know, the breakthrough. That's all you need is that door opening. And that's what happened with Tony Hatch when he gave me the opportunity, as I told you earlier on, to conduct for him. And eventually I started doing the arrangements myself and went from there. You just need that door to be opened. And I've been very fortunate in my career that in my career that these doors opened. And that's when you have to make sure you do it right.
Well, the door's open, but you have to be talented
That's
to
what I mean. Absolutely.
be able
of
to go
course.
through that door.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, they don't usually open it unless you are. Sometimes, you know. But I've been very fortunate. There we go.
Okay, now we're going, because you're here in Palm Springs, now we're going to get to the fabulous Palm Springs Follies
great.
part. How did you get the first call to do the arrangements for the show?
Well, Riff Markowitz, the producer and the creator of the show, called me. It was 1992, 91 actually, late 91. And he called me and he said, my name's Riff Markowitz. And I said, hi. He said, I'm going to produce a live show. And you've been recommended that you do electronic music, because I was doing all that. I made a specialty of, because I knew that the business was going to get very difficult in the late 70s and the 80s. I could see things going very much into the technology area, and I thought, I've got to get on this, so I made sure.
Explain to the audience electronic music.
Right, well, the thing is that with the Follies, I mean, it's all done by me. There is no orchestra there. It's, you know, there is, but it's me underneath the stage. But it's all done electronically, and I made a specialty of that. And then he called me and he said, you've been recommended, blah, blah, blah. So we met, we had lunch together, and he said, I said, well, what is the show? And he told me, it's everybody in the show is over 50. I said, well, that's a great concept. He said, well, we'll see. You know, so we, cut a long story short, I did all the music, and I always remember him saying this. I remind him sometimes. He said to me, the night before we opened, he said, tomorrow night, we're either close after that show, or this could go for a long time.
And it's going for a long time.
It's just like the battery, it keeps going and going. It's just amazing. It's an incredible experience. I'm so proud to be part of it.
Well, we have a little video clip of this year's 20th anniversary of the Follies.
Right.
Lorraine?
Gotta go in a pony, like Boney Maroney. Mashed potato to the alligator. Put your hands on your hips there, let your backbone slip. Do the Watusi, like my little Lucy. Hey, na 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 na. So good, so good, I got a you. Hey!
Fantastic, Johnny. Now, I'm running out of time here. We've talked so much, and it's some great video clips. How far in advance do you start working on the next season for the Fabulous Palm
About a
Springs?
year.
So you're probably already into the season number 21 or past, on this, working on season number 22?
Not yet. We will be probably doing that during the summer, as when we usually, about July, that we'll start, Riff will come up and write the show, and then we all get together and he explains what he wants, and we go through the meetings to create that show.
So is it Riff and Mary that come up with the theme for that particular season coming up?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Okay, and then you follow through with the music.
Right. You know, we go through all the songs, we pick the songs, and no.
Now, can I just let a little secret out? Because you've come up through the floor in the stage to conduct the orchestra.
Right.
There's no orchestra there.
Yeah, it's all me. You ever see
You're conducting yourself, right?
Right. Well, do you ever see it's an old movie called Strike Up the Band with Mickey Rooney?
Yes.
And right when he's conducting the band, and every section is him, the trombone, and he's the conductor.
Exactly.
That's what I feel like.
Well, Johnny, we only have a minute left, and I want to talk about the 21st season. The show is titled Hot, Hot, Hot.
Yeah.
It starts November 1st with John Davidson, and then Maureen McGovern, which is terrific, and the Diamonds.
I know.
So you're working with these people already for the next show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. And tickets go on sale, online tickets, it's psfollies.com on July 11th, and the box office opens on September 26th for the November 1st opening.
It's going to be a fantastic show.
Well,
absolutely
they
amazing.
all are.
I know.
Aren't they?
They get better every year.
Okay, can you tell me just quickly, what was your favorite year?
The next one.
You know, I almost said that. Exactly, the one you're working on.
That's
exactly.
true. That's true.
Well, Johnny Harris, I'd like to thank you for coming on Talk of this,
My pleasure.
talking about your career and all of the talents. And I just, as I said, I love the fabulous Palm Springs Follies.
So do I.
Yeah, well, yeah, you've had a consistent job for 21
Yeah, but
years
you know,
now.
it's like an institution, and it's just be
is.
marvelous to be part of such an incredible show that gives so much pleasure to everybody.
That's right.
Millions
it sure
of people.
Is. It is. Thank you, John, for joining.
Thank you
for joining
very
me.
much. Thank you.
And thank you, audience, for joining us.
Yes.
www.